What's up, Nerfers? Today we're going to be looking at this Nerf STRYFE. I'm also going to be showing you how to install this MOSFET that Luke from Out of Darts just came out with. So we're going to be able to upgrade our motors and rewire it. So let's unbox our STRYFE first. So included with our blaster we got this tiny stock, this muzzle attachment, which you could call flash guard, suppressor, silencer, whatever you want to call it. This grip, you hit the button and fold your grip, and 10 camel darts. Oh, you also get your 10 round magazine. Okay guys, let's go ahead and open this up and I'll show you what you need to install this out of dart MOSFET. I got some fan reamp motors, a couple of XDC connectors, flywheels, cage, your MOSFET, the spacers that came with your MOSFET, shrink wrap, this little connector, and I'll show you what it's used for along the video, and wire, soldering tools, soldering iron and your solder, wire cutters, and screwdriver. So let's get our blaster open, guys. There's a bunch of screws we gotta remove. So here we go. So here's our internals, guys. You want to take a quick look, see how everything goes. But a lot of this wire we're going to be removing. So let's get going with the rest. You want you get this out of the way. When we remove our cage, you will need these to install your new cage, so keep in mind where you leave them and what screws go where, please. And you should be fine. And next we're removing this channel, and these are silver screws, just 2 screws. This is where your wires go by. And there's that channel. Removing the safety lock, and it should just pop right out. So we'll move the spring out of the way. That out of the way here, and this we could just cut it out, so that's out of the way. Here's our trigger lock. Remove this. I like to leave the screw in there so I know what screw goes there. So here's your trigger. Removing this trigger. And there's also a lock here for your magazine that we're also going to remove because we won't be needing that anymore. there's a little protective cover that keeps that lock in there. And that's basically your wiring for a STRYFE, guys. And here's your other wire that you gotta cut out. This is basically your wiring. We're just gonna need one of these here. So I'm gonna cut this one off. We're gonna need this one. And basically everything else is garbage, guys. You could save it and use it for another project, but this cover back on just keeps dirt and debris from coming back on this side from your darts. I grabbed the wrong cover, guys. Now, let's put our cage together first. So here's our cage. And this is a worker cage. I'll set a link in the description where you can get it, and as you can see, it fits right in there nicely. So that's where our cage is gonna go. And this is our MOSFET. And there's a little positive right here. So that's how we're gonna set our angry amp motors. So just make sure you get that correct setting. Positives right here. So we'll put our motors like this. Here's your other positive. You slide those right in there like that. They should pop right in. And you also get screws, but when you set this down, be careful when you set it down so you don't break the tabs off. So we get these little screws to hold our motors in place. So you need 4 of them, just to make sure they don't come out. Just a little bit, guys. You don't need much. That's it, guys. Now we're going to install our flywheels. What I do, I just hold my motor from the back, just push in, and just make sure they go in and you get them even. So make sure you hold your motor in the back. We're going to be soldering right here at this 2 points. We're also going to put our switch cable. This is for our switch. Pop it in there, and this also goes on the bottom. Sorry about my shakiness. I had a bunch of coffee this morning. And that's it for that part. Now we're gonna add this little spacers that are provided when you order a MOSFET. So that's just in case you don't want to get too much the soldering on the bottom so it doesn't feed all the way through. So this kind of helps out. especially if you're just starting to solder. This really helps. So that's like a little spacer to protect your motors from getting too much solder. This is how this goes like that. Have my wife help me push it down, and then I'll start soldering all these ends. And that's basically all your soldering you're going to be needing. Plug in your XT60. Basically all you have to do is just touch this. There you go. Yep, you have to Dremel down the little section right there. Right here, guys. So let's do that. And now we're gonna get our XT60 connector ready. Flat side is our positive side, guys. Now we're gonna shrink our shrink wrap. Just hit it with a lighter. Don't get it too close. Just shrink your wrap. And that should be good, guys. So back to our blaster. So I thought this wire would be long enough, but it's not. So we're gonna have to put it on here like this. Put a little solder on there now. Cable that we just soldered together. And we're gonna Dremel this little tiny section right here. Let's grab our Dremel. That should be good enough to run your wires through there. Should be able to tuck them in a little bit better. Just through right here to the bottom of this. Let's try it out. That should keep everything clear in your wire channel. Just run our wires back for a switch. We'll go this way. Right in through here. Put our switch back on. Just make sure it's in there good, guys. Make sure it's actuating. Put a little safety door on here. And that's it, guys. Now, flip this over. And these things, you could just pop them out through here and just squeeze on them. We won't be needing those anymore because that's where battery is gonna go in. So we're gonna have to Dremel some of this parts back here too. So I'm gonna run our wire through this top hole. That should be just enough for a battery to fit. And then you could just yank these out with your pliers. Be careful with your spring here. And that's how your battery should fit. So I'm hoping I have enough space. I might have to get a battery extended door, but we'll see what I'll do here in a second. I ended up cutting this part of the shell because it wasn't really gonna fit. This is the smallest battery you could basically get out there. So you basically need to shove the XT60 connector kind of in there like that. So that's what we're gonna end up doing. And then you could also put your LiPo alarm in here and you have a small one. So now we're just gonna solder our XT60 to the other side. So I got our XT60 ready here. Remember, our flat side is the positive side. And I like using this style of XT60s with the covers on there. Just makes it a little bit more sturdier. You could grab it and pull it out from here. And let's test this thing out. That should be it. There you go, guys. Now for reassembly of the rest of our parts. Here we are with our blaster reassembly. I got this worker piece for a mag release that's going to go in here. So I'm going to install that first. So for that, just want to take out this screw. Set it aside. Should initially just kind of come out like this. And it comes with a spring, which I think it goes in here to give you a little bit more pressure on there. Just slide this out. So guys, I made a little bit of a mistake. I'm supposed to put this on there so everything kind of fits in here first. So I'm going to have to take out this cage really fast. So for a second, guys, I thought I had an extra screw, but that's where that little battery resistor was, right here, the smaller screw. So and then this bigger one goes right here. Quick overview of what we did to our STRYFE. We installed a worker cage, worker flywheels, our drag reamp motors, auto darts MOSFET that's down below with our XT60 connector. Here's our XT60 that we installed, and we ended up cutting a little channel right here on our shell to make sure it fit and seated right. We also cut a little channel right here for our wiring for a rev trigger. We fed it through here. And I ended up putting a little dab of hot glue right here and also here to keep the wires set so nothing would be caught. And for a rev trigger, I run the wires through the middle, and our wires weren't long enough, so I had to extend them down to the rev trigger down below right here, and then our battery wires. And I also installed this worker extended mag release for easier release. Now let's put it back together and see how it works. So for our testing, I'm going to use a stock STRYFE with end strike darts. And now we're going to use our STRYFE first with end strike darts. Okay guys, final thoughts. With our stock STRYFE, we were shooting about 50 to 60 FPS. Obviously I didn't shoot with a muzzle or anything, but I just wanted to show off my STRYFE. So let's put this aside. And now for a modded STRYFE. So this is what it looked like when I got it. I obviously added this worker mag release, and it works really good. Really smooth, guys. And I do recommend the worker flywheels and cages. It's not the most expensive out there, but if you're in a budget, that's pretty good. And we did get a really good increase in performance. I didn't want to be too high because I want to use my STRYFE in local events, and I like to use it with my friends and family, so I don't want to hurt anybody. So obviously, and I did all my tested without the muzzles, so we were achieving about 130 to 150 FPS. So that's a little high, a little there, but I think after we wear out the wheels a little bit, we'll stay more consistent. And with the Acura darts, it was a little bit lower, so I think we're gonna stick with regular darts. So final thoughts: difficulty, not too bad. I would say it's an 8, but with practice and patience, I think you'll get it done. And definitely with the MOSFET from out of darts, it's a lot easier, and you don't have to cut out anything from your shell to put a switch or anything, so that makes it a lot easier. So if it's your first time mounting a STRYFE, I do recommend that MOSFET. And that's it for now. So until next time, keep on nerfing, and don't forget to subscribe.